Here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, coming to you live from the Salisbury Center right here in historic Manassas, Virginia, powered by Monster Energy. This is the main event of the evening. Making his way to the cage and fighting out of the red corner, it's David Bergida.
Welcome back to CageZilla 75. We now have our main event of the evening. David Brigita fighting for the vacant welterweight title. He stands 5'10", weighed in at 170.4 pounds. Age 29, fighting out of district martial arts under our own Charles Dzinga. His hometown is Arlington, VA, and he boasts a record of 3-0, undefeated, is the number 7 welterweight in Virginia. He's fighting for the belt that was recently vacated by Conor McFarland, making his CageZilla debut, boasting a 66% finishing rate, all submissions. Now, that submissions are impressive, but he actually wrestled for Virginia Tech and was a big part of their 2017 ACC championship team. He had his most successful year as a freshman where he finished 17-12. He is staying active as this is his 4th fight in 17 months. I have a lot of respect for David. David comes through to Kaizen, also under Kamal, who's currently putting the grease on his face. David, any wrestler who comes in, the first thing they need to do is get comfortable striking. They need to be able to be in somebody's face because the threat of a wrestler is them being close to you. And David put in that work. He came in and just trained like a boxer. At Kaizen, we have a very successful boxing team and we are a hub of boxing in the DMV, having gyms from all over Virginia and DC come train on Tuesday. David was right there in there with the premier amateur and professional boxers of the area. He's putting in the work, and that D1 work ethic has proven him solid with those 2 submission wins. I'm very excited for this bout. David is a top prospect in the area, and we're going to send it back down to Chris to introduce his opponent.
And his opponent, making his way to the cage and fighting out of the blue corner, it's Niko Petrides.
Here at CageZilla, we host some of the best amateur fights in the area, and Nico Petrides is traveling in to test himself at that caliber. He has a height of 6'2". He had an official weight of 168 pounds, and he is 26 years old, fighting out of Elevate MMA Academy in Durham, North Carolina, where he is also from. His MMA record is 4-2. His Tapology ranking is the number 14th welterweight in Virginia. Making his CageZilla debut as well, also an active fighter, as this will be his 7th fight in 20 months. He carries a 50% finishing rate, scored a 42-second knockout in his last win in May. Like his opponent, also very well-versed on the ground and carries a submission victory in one of his wins. He's been knocked out and submitted, but has never lost a fight when it has gone to the judges. Again, experience matters. And one fighter walking to their 4th fight, one walking into their 7th. I say, even though there are 2 losses on Nico's record, those are learning experiences. Whenever you lose in a cage, you go out and is one of the greatest gifts of an amateur because you have fire in your belly to work on your weaknesses. I'm very excited in any fighter who's willing to come up here and test themselves in what is essentially a professional bout of MMA. Here in the state of Virginia, the rules for all amateurs are the same as professional fighters, but our title bouts in Virginia are 5-minute rounds, not 3-minute rounds. That makes a world of difference in terms of how you're preparing the cardio. So, to willing to test yourself, it shows that these guys are looking at that next step in their career, and they are ready for it. We're going to throw it down to Chris soon to make the final announcement for this CageZilla welterweight title bout.
Salisbury Center, once again, this is the main event of the evening. This bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds, and it is for the vacant CageZilla welterweight title. It is brought to you by our friends at the Shop Gym, the Virginia Mecca for powerlifting and physical fitness, and our newest sponsor, welcoming the Gray Realty Group, a top real estate team in Northern Virginia. And now, starting out, fighting out of the red corner, Standing 5'10" and weighing in at 170 pounds, fighting out of district martial arts, he brings a perfect 3-0 record to the cage. It's David Bergida! And his opponent, fighting out of the blue corner, standing 6'2" and weighing in at 168 pounds, fighting out of Elevate MMA Academy with a record of 4 wins and only 2 defeats, making his way all the way up from North Carolina, it's Niko Petrides! Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this bout is scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. It is for the CageZilla welterweight title. It is brought to you by the Shop Gym and Gray Realty Group. And now, here's Michael Dolman with the fighter instructions.
Gentlemen, fight clean, fight hard, touch gloves now. Come out fighting.
Both fighters go back to their corners, hold the cage as they wait for Mike Dolman to signal that the doors are locked and we are ready to go. As a reminder, I'm Liam Pinero. My broadcast partner Charles is actually in the corner of David right now as the fight gets started. Chris, welcome back to the booth.
Hey, I tell you what, Liam, I was telling referee Michael Dolman just now, I didn't even want to stand by David Brigita. That guy looks mean.
He is. He hits very hard. he is
like
also a sweetheart. I will be honest with you. In the cage, not so much.
Yeah, I would not want to be locked in the cage with that guy.
I gotta tell you, the scariest thing about David is that he can humble himself. Again, like I made a big thing of it on his walkout, but to go and have this high-level pedigree and say, I will humble myself and be a beginner and dedicate myself to another component sport of MMA, it shows you that he is serious about trying to make this. And he gets in on a double leg, but there's a guillotine attempt being slapped on him. I like that he's chasing the cage right now and chasing a leg. That doesn't seem like a really hard guillotine, more like a front headlock, but I can see the opponent trying to feed in an anaconda grip.
And it looked like he took a shot coming in there.
Ooh. Hiding his head underneath, grounds his opponent. I'd like to see, yes, he's tying up the ankles. Very smart moves here. That guillotine threat is honestly for nil. It's just a matter of when, the head is out. For everybody at home, that wrist grip just shows his wrestling pedigree. He's making his grips and making sure that he controls his opponent first.
Niko looking very composed, not getting too worried about what's going on right now. Trying to figure out a way out of this, but he's got both legs tied up.
Both legs tied up and extended. Now, David has not yet climbed up past the knee line. His hips are still in front of the shins, but now making his attempts up. One of the hardest things is David capturing the left wrist of Niko. Niko is having a hard time building, and without legs to get under his hips as well, it's even harder. David always keeping high head and high hips. Scooping out those ankles, very Habib-esque, obviously inspired by the UFC former champion. I like that Niko bothers David, though, on the bottom with these short little elbow strikes whenever he can. Obviously, you want to see your fighter start to build more, but he has to create some space and opportunity as David smothers him with this pressure. But the more Niko has these little slaps and just these little actions, the more Mike Dolman looks and says, well, David, you need to progress position or else I'm going to take this away from you.
Yeah, I was thinking that just a second ago. He's not making much out of this position.
Hold on, Niko's setting up a Dagestani handcuff. Let's go, wraps wrist. I'd like him to keep punching here. He can score. Yes, right here. If he keeps this pressure up and can just keep tagging.
But Niko able to pop a leg out.
David quick to trying to find hooks and keeping heavy on the hands. I'd like to see David make Niko carry the weight more. Seems like David right now is squeezing kind of hard to keep these controls when I'd rather him just make Niko be the one to carry the weight. Oh, dragging him down onto a shoulder too. Head and arm triangle threat there. Don't know if he'll really commit for the submission.
He had it too, you're right.
For those at home, you'll notice that some of the wrestlers who come into this cage often don't progress to that jiu-jitsu mount that we've seen be somewhat a liability. In wrestling, there's a priority on controlling legs so that your opponent does not stand up.
Good elbows from the bottom by Niko, though.
Absolutely, and this is what I mean. Striking from bottom can be effective, especially when you're just looking to be. Oh, a triangle attempt slapped on. David wise and postures quickly so it can't get sucked into it deep. Oh, good tags. Good tags using the. Oh, one kick up. Oh, that up kick is dangerous. I'm happy he's found his way past. Nice little short elbows. So far, I think Niko is doing the best he can to be a problem for David underneath, but I think Niko at this point has kind of accepted his role as the bottom player.
Yeah, and just the fighter IQ here with Bergida is just incredible. He's what is this, his 4th fight in? He's I mean, very technically sound.
Oh, and he's trying to set up an Americana too. Here's what I'd say is that what you're seeing there is an experienced competitor. This is a man who has competed in Division I wrestling. You do not get there without having a mat awareness and intelligence to you. If he were to be a fighter who just lost themselves emotionally in cage, I'd be deeply surprised with that type of pedigree of competition.
Yeah, and it speaks a lot to his composure too. He's staying very composed, very smart, as I said before, and that's why he is completely dominating right now. And in a 5-round fight, a 5-minute round, you've got a 170-pound guy laying on top of you for 5 minutes, man. That's got to take a lot out of you.
I agree. The only thing I'd say is that if David has to come out and have very long striking exchanges, I wonder how that will look. He grappled for so long right there, but the only issue is that grappling is all him holding and constantly contracting muscles. Blood and lactic acid fills those arms, that I wonder how much he's going to be able to look like a good, clean striker, or is he going to feel pressed to get this back to the floor? Meanwhile, Niko on the other side kind of accepted the role as the bottom player, didn't burn too much energy trying to be wild and escape, instead settled for his pot shots. We're going to see what happens. Did that conservation of energy pay off for him? And again, these are 5-minute rounds. These amateurs have never been allowed to go this long in a single continuous round, let alone a full 15 minutes if it gets there.
Yeah, and you got to think Brigida's also carrying a lot of muscle around, and that comes into play as far as cardio goes,
Absolutely. On the other side, Brigita actually pretty well sized for the welterweight as an amateur. I would say that his weight cut maybe not as harsh on him as Niko's was. There we go. We see David's footwork a little sloppier now. He's kind of having more plodding footwork, a little of these more hard steps. That's a good jab opportunity there, but again, look at Niko being a little more loose, a little more free in his movement. Oh, but David just pressuring Niko to a cage. Not many strikes landed, but you see how he's corralled his opponent to where he wants him to be. Oh, missed hard on that overhand kick, falling on. Ooh, good crucifix ride, getting in his little pot shots. I don't know how damaging these are. I'd be worried right now. I'd like David to start progressing to different controls. Right now he's loading himself on that shoulder line. It is controlling at the moment, but it's a reversible place. Oh, now stepping in that single leg ride hook.
Yeah, you see Michael Dolman taking a close look.
There's choke threats here for him if he wants them, but I like that he's just collecting. He needs to be wary about where those knees go. Mike Dolman's warning him. Now, this is what I was talking about in that first round about. David does not look like he's working hard here. But what he looks like he is just kind of hanging the weight off of Niko, making Niko carry all of that mass that you were talking about at the beginning of the round. This is exhausting for the bottom person because Niko right now is pushing away from the ground this entire time, trying to hold his shoulder off the mat. Even right here, just shaking his head at his corner like, what do you want me to do? This guy, he's good. He's making the right moves. David back to this long extended posture, hipping into the knees, keeping the ankles elevated. Niko gets these pot shots in, but who's really winning at this moment is a good question.
Yeah, a situation like this, you've always got to look. I mean, unless they're landing significant damage from the bottom, which Nico is not at this point, you got to give the advantage to the guy on top, right?
Absolutely. And one thing I would say, though, is that David could be helping himself by building the head up. He's keeping his head low on the hips, rib, and chest, but I understand that from a wrestling context. It is okay control. The hips are hard to move like that, but his head's constantly under. He's constantly being stuffed. He can't get his head high to get a shot off, to set up submissions. I like this far more, where he's starting to now make Nico go to his side, get on a shoulder. You see Nico slowly, shoulder on the mat. Now David can be on top. He can either go to a mount or a half guard or side control with the cage right there and be pretty calm. But he's eating these annoying little elbows. I'd say he really needs to have a little bit better optics in this moment. Look like he's the one controlling not just the position, but the damage.
You got to give some credit there to Michael Dolman, too, for not standing that fight up. He was getting a lot of pressure from this capacity crowd here at the Salisbury Center to stand them up. And he saw that
There's a big exposure on the cage. Sorry to cut you off, Chris.
No, you're good. And I think he saw that David might be in a position where he could better himself, and he was right.
Nico working to isolate that far arm, putting the shin on the face. Oh, that's a mean move. That's effective, though. Not an illegal strike because it was a placement of the leg.
Oh, it's just right in his face. Yeah, that knee just digging right into the mouth and nose of Nico there. That cannot feel good.
As a coach, if I were to see a fighter do that to, let's say, like a hobbyist training in the gym, I'd say that's poor form, and you're being a bad training partner. No, an Americana threat there, deep. Just lets go of the grip as Nico adjusts his body to sort of take off that leverage. But in MMA, in a fight, or in a fighter's training room, I encourage that type of grind and discomfort, trying to get your partner to make bad decisions just off, I just don't want this knee on my throat anymore.
Yeah, and that is a deliberate move right there. He keeps going back to it.
I like him not even letting the guard come back in front of him. He did not like that up kick, and he only has 19 seconds. He's been dominating this round for so long. I'd like him to try to put a little more emphasis and maybe a little more risk-taking every now and then. He's trying to lock up a topside triangle. It's a good move to show a threat towards the end. He's mostly just riding out of control.
Wow. 2 dominant rounds here put in by David Brigida. If you're in the corner of Niko Petrides right now, you've got to be coming up with something crazy to stop this onslaught here by David.
Honestly, it's risk taking off the bottom. He's accepting these bottom positions and trying to play jiu-jitsu against them. And accept is a strong word. There's moments where he's trying to fight up and post up. We pointed it out, but there's also moments where his shoulder goes to the mat and he's like, okay, I'm going to play a bottom half guard now and see what I can survive. I'd say when David gets to those side controls, Nico needs to start just turning through, risking the back exposure to get to turtle, and just trying to make it a wrestling match, because so far playing jiu-jitsu on the bottom has not worked out. It's given him only submission danger and punches and elbows to the face. David, honestly, it's continue the path, stay in the moment, make sure your mental is stronger than whatever fatigue you're feeling.
If I'm Nico, I got to try to find a way to just nullify the takedowns that don't end up on the ground. Try to keep this fight on your feet and see how it goes, because, as you said, being on his back has not worked out for him the last 10 minutes of this fight.
And hey, if we look at that last round, he tried to take a risk. He tried to go for his own takedown, put the wrestler on their back, and it didn't work out for him.
Still a lot of fight left, though, here, Liam.
A full 5-minute round. And this is honestly a great thing I think that Virginia does. It gives these amateurs, honestly, a dry run of what a professional fight will feel like in the future.
But look at David Brigida right now, not even breathing hard. He's 10 minutes into this fight, and he looks like he's fresh, like the fight just started.
I genuinely think he actually looks fresher coming out of this third round than the second.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Oh, coming right under that cross, and a beautiful lift.
Wow.
Oh, that is a highlight reel right there. Great takedown. So, right here, if I were in Nico's corner, I'd be telling him that left arm needs to come through and you just need to turn away. It'd be the worst thing. Every jiu-jitsu coach would tell you never do that. But in MMA, you have to take a risk to get the reward of getting back to where Nico could win this fight, and that's on the feet.
It's going to be tough for him to get back up there now, Liam.
I mean, a full 4 minutes to work on top after having all the confidence and energy sapped away from the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Nico is not helping himself at the moment in this position. He's trying to find his way in. He's trying to find that underhook. It's good basic decision making, but David just that one step ahead, shutting down these grips, keeping head pressure, not letting the full guard be recovered, elbows while he's trying to make these transitions. David is just showing how well versed a grappler he is.
And for you guys at home that are casual MMA fans that don't really know what we're looking at, this is high level wrestling and jiu-jitsu right now from these amateurs. And
he's about to flatten him out. Oh, he hipped in and just, I'd like David to have taken that opportunity though and just rain down some
I thought he
damage.
was. He was in perfect position for it. I was about to say it.
He hesitated though. He saw the head and arm triangle. I saw him think about reaching for it, but then Nico flattened out and David went back to the pressure. Not a bad decision. As an amateur, ride the controls, get the dub. However, as you're going to professional ranks trying to get noticed by matchmakers in these big promotions, finishing is a skill that they want. David, though, just showing his D1 pedigree right here.
Yeah, and that's something that I would like to see a little more out of. You know, I'm all for if you get to fight one, there's no reason to risk anything crazy, but I would like to see a little more urgency to finish here.
Setting up an Americana on that arm. He's tried this before. Very fundamental submission. Looks like Nico has a tap hand a little ready. He is bridging. He's trying to alleviate pressure.
He looks uncomfortable. But
he started talking now.
Yeah, he told Michael Dolman he's okay. And he is.
You always have to wonder when a fighter sort of has that hand kind of floating out there.
Wow. Just incredible control here by Bergida. Just smothering Petrides.
Right here is where David really should just be opening up. At this point, they're so lit. Those elbows are illegal to the back of the head. Mike Dolman calling it out, letting Nico know that he needs to be careful of his targeting.
Yeah, Brigita didn't like those. That looked uncomfortable.
Right here is where David Brigida should be framing off the face, maybe even building up to a higher mount where he doesn't have to be worried about the big bucking actions. I'd like to see more progression to other advantage positions. There's mount and then there's more advantages in mount. I like this isolating of an arm. But then again, Brigida coming from a wrestling background, not necessarily a jiu-jitsu pedigree, so these are things that he'll learn as he competes in MMA and all the other sports.
We've got to be in short time here, and it's
30 seconds left.
Yeah. Looks like this is how this fight is going to end up.
Nico thinking about a buggy choke attempt, but honestly not really in the right setup position. David isolating the head, going north-south, just floating on top. He knows that it's on. He's just counting down the seconds till he gets a CageZilla belt wrapped around him, unless there's some miraculous theatrics by Nico in the last 10 seconds of this bout. And we hear that clacker go.
This has got to be a no-doubt 30-27 fight for Brigida.
And our very own Charles DeSinga will be welcoming a CageZilla welterweight belt in his district martial arts gym. David Brigida has all but the formalities won this bout.
Yeah, big smiles on the faces of that's Kamal in there. I didn't even notice.
Yes.
Wow.
Former UFC fighter. The first fight of Khabib's career, Kamal, and UFC career, Kamal coaching his protege.
All right, I'll go get the official word from our judges.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to CageZilla 75 here at the Salisbury Center. We had a pleasure. Great nine fights of action tonight, finishing off with David Brigita, who is all but to be announced the winner of the CageZilla Vacant Welterweight, showcasing just a high-level pedigree of wrestling, controlling on the ground, showing that his jiu-jitsu skills are not slacking either. Great controls, progressing to positions that he has learned since his time in MMA. Even the boxing, coming out fresh, good footwork, and the boxing is how he got to his wrestling. That last takedown in the third round, that highlight, high-amplitude double leg, coming off a slip of a straight cross coming out from Nico. Just altogether, high-level performance. I'm excited to see if David Brigita wants to get more experience in the amateurs, getting more of these 3-5-minute round bouts under his belt, or if he's going to be looking to the next stage of his career as a professional. And now we're going to take it down to Chris, who's going to announce our winner.
Salisbury Center, after 3 rounds of action, we go to the judges' scorecards for a decision. All 3 judges have scored the bout 30-27 for your winner by unanimous decision and new CageZilla welterweight champion. Out of the red corner, it's David Bergida.
Congratulations, David Brigita. Thank you from everyone here on the CageZilla staff, Scott, Jeff, Charles, Chris. We will have our next TCB event next month, November 11th, and then we'll be having another CageZilla event, the final of the year in December. We look forward to having everyone back to Salisbury Center, everyone back to the live stream, coming back with you with more combat sports action from Northern Virginia here in Manassas. One last time, thank you, everybody. My name's Liam Pinero, and we'll be seeing you again soon.
Like and subscribe to CageZilla.